Compact crossovers are basically the hottest cars on the market today. So as such, automakers are continuously making updates to them in an attempt to stay ahead of the curve. Today we'll be comparing two of the newest offerings, the Honda CR-V and Mazda CX-5, both all new for 2017. Now on the surface you may think that these two don't compete, and as far as sales figures go, they don't. But look at any major media outlets and you'll see that the CR-V and CX-5 are consistently ranked 1 and 2 for the best offering in this highly competitive segment. In this video we'll be comparing all the features and specs of both vehicles, and awarding points based on that in the most objective way possible. In our previous comparison, the CR-V took down the Nissan Rogue, which itself took down the RAV4 before that. So this battle will effectively determine which brand has the best offering in the segment. Let's get to it. As always, we'll start out the comparison by establishing the price and option levels of the two models. First up we have the CR-V. It is the EXL trim level, which starts at $29,295. Honda is known for not offering factory options, but we do have a few dealer accessories, all-wheel drive, and a destination charge added on. They bring the price to a very reasonable $31,932. Moving on to the CX-5, we have the Grand Touring trim level, which starts out $100 higher than the EXL CR-V. Mazda also doesn't offer many options, but we do have the one package available, the premium package. Add in all-wheel drive and the destination charge to get the final price of $33,465. That puts the price difference between the two at about $1,500, which is very close in the grand scheme of things. And regardless, both undercut the Rogue, RAV4, and Escape price-wise. Now that we've established that, let's get into the comparison. The first thing we'll start with is the key fobs. On the Mazda, you have their typical fob, which is very long and slender. It's also very lightweight. On the CR-V, the fob has a more traditional shape, and it feels a lot more substantial than the CX-5's. Additionally, it also gives you remote start, which is something the Mazda doesn't have. So the first point will go to the CR-V. First, let's pop the hood and compare the powertrains of these two. The CR-V and CX-5 do things quite differently under the hood. For starters, the Honda has now switched to turbo power, a 1.5-liter turbo 4-cylinder with 190 horsepower and 180 pound-feet of torque. The Mazda retains its engine from last year, a naturally aspirated 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine with Skyactiv technology. It makes 187 horsepower and 185 pound-feet of torque, less horsepower but more torque than the CR-V. The transmissions are also very different, since Honda uses a continuously variable transmission compared to the 6-speed auto on the Mazda. I'll give the point here to the CX-5 because most customers prefer the traditional feel of shifting versus the elastic feel of a CVT. That said, however, the CVT and turbo engine do prove to be a more efficient combination. The CR-V is rated at 27 city, 33 highway, 29 combined, compared to the CX-5's 23 city, 29 highway, 26 combined. Now that that's out of the way, let's move on to the all-new exterior styling and features. The first thing I like to do is look at the front and rear styling in general. Starting with the Mazda, we have the newest interpretation of the Kodo design language. The grille is much larger than before, with a shape kind of like the CX-9, except for the sporty black mesh in the middle. The front of the CR-V is completely new this year, and completely different from the CX-5. It's less aggressive looking and features more chrome, which leads into the headlight unit. The headlights themselves are halogens, but you do have LED daytime running lights. On the Mazda, you will find fully LED headlights on every trim. They have a very luxurious look to them, with the daytime running lights reminding me of BMW. Below, you will find LED fog lamps on the CX-5 and halogen fog lamps on the CR-V. Overall, both are big improvements over the outgoing models, but the Mazda definitely looks more upscale and sophisticated. In the rear, they both have unmistakable styles, which is good since a lot of cars in this class look the same. The new CR-V brings a look that is both familiar and different. It has generous use of chrome, and it retains the signature vertical taillights from all the other generations. They are partially LED. The rear of the new CX-5 is perhaps a bit less distinct, but it does look a lot more athletic to my eyes. The design emphasizes its width instead of its height like on the CR-V, and you also get dual exhaust. These nice looking LED taillights look almost identical to the ones on the Miata. Overall, the Mazda has a more dynamic and classy appearance. Now we'll start working our way around the cars and on all the features. Starting with ground clearance, the CR-V clears the asphalt by 8.3 inches, compared to 7.6 on the CX-5. But the CX-5 holds the advantage for turning diameter. Moving to the wheels, the Mazda gives you 1 inch larger ones at 19 inches. The CR-Vs are 18 inches, but both models have similar contrasting designs. As far as brakes are concerned, the CX-5s are bigger in both the front and rear. The mirrors are basically the same, since they both feature power adjustments, heating, and turn signals. They also both have blind spot monitors in the mirrors. Both crossovers share 3-year 36,000-mile bumper-to-bumper warranties and 5-year 60,000-mile powertrain warranties. Neither of them offer complimentary maintenance. Safety ratings are an important consideration for vehicles like these, and both do or should do good. The CX-5 hasn't been rated yet, but last year's model was already a top safety pick plus, so it's very unlikely that the new one will backtrack from that. The CR-V is a top safety pick plus. They also both include loads of active safety technologies, like forward emergency braking, lane keep assist, radar cruise control, and automatic high beam headlamps. 2,000 pounds doesn't sound like much for towing, and it isn't. But the Mazda's rating actually exceeds most of the class, including the CR-V by 500 pounds. Coming to the fuel tank, the CR-V has a 14-gallon tank on all models, while the CX-5 gives you a larger 15.3-gallon tank on all-wheel drive models. Because of that, the fuel ranges are remarkably similar, 406 miles for the CR-V and 398 for the CX-5. Well, that pretty much wraps up the exterior changes, but arguably the bigger changes are on the inside, so let's check them out. Starting off with the Mazda, new and expensive materials are used all around. We have the ebony interior with real leather seating and contrast stitching. The CR-V's interior also moves upscale, and this one is equipped with the gray leather seats. In regards to the seats themselves, the Mazda gives you 8-way power adjustments, compared to the very impressive 12-way seats on the CR-V. They both have 2-person memory and 3-stage heating. So like I said, the insides of both of these cars take a turn decidedly upscale. The CR-V uses a mixture of stitched soft-touch plastics on the upper and lower portions. The fit and finish is extremely tight, and everything feels like it's built to last. Despite how nice the CR-V is, the CX-5 manages to up the ante. There is stitched leather all around the cabin, including on the center tunnel, and the fit and finish is also good. The same goes for the door trims, where both are extremely nice, but the Mazda manages to take things to a level never seen before in this class. The cut and sewn materials could seriously be from a luxury car, so the Mazda will take the materials point. Both cars have push-button ignition, but very different gauges. The Mazda has a Miata-inspired setup, with the leftmost gauge a 4.6-inch display. The CR-V switches to a fully digital setup, which is not only bigger, but also more customizable. The CX-5, however, has a secret weapon that the Honda doesn't, and that's a heads-up display. I can't think of anything else in the class with one, so I'll call the gauge area even. Both steering wheels are covered in soft leather, but the CX-5's is heated. One place where it is almost impossible to beat a Honda is storage space, and that is true for this comparison as well. The Mazda is certainly still on the upper end of the segment, but the CR-V's unique sliding center bin and open middle space is unsurpassed in this segment. The side effect of all that storage is that the shifter has to be mounted up high like a minivan. The problem I have with it is not the placement, but the fact that it is hard as a rock. The CX-5's traditional leather-wrapped shifter is much more satisfying to use, plus it allows for manual shifting. When in reverse, things swing back to the CR-V because its backup camera has multiple views and dynamic guidance lines. Both also have electronic parking brakes and a brake hold feature. In regards to climate, both are dual-zone automatic. However, the CX-5 offers better ergonomics since all the controls are in one spot, whereas the CR-V requires you to go to the screen for certain functions. Now let's listen to their audio systems. The song selection doesn't give you a very good sample, but I know from first-hand experience that the Mazda's Bose audio system has the richer sound. And now that brings us to the screens, 7 inches on both models. As far as infotainment software goes, they are very different. The CR-V uses a redesigned interface, which is easier to use and paired with a bright and responsive screen. The graphics are on the dated side, but I found it easy to use since there are shortcut buttons on the side, a status bar on the top, and a home screen. One feature I did miss was integrated navigation, but that's not really necessary since Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are both on board. Moving to the Mazda, it has a very modern looking screen, which is also very bright like the CR-V's. The graphics look a lot cleaner and the animations are also more tasteful. The nice thing about this system is that it gives you 2 input methods, either an iDrive-like controller or as a regular touchscreen. I appreciate the option of not having to reach for the screen, since that's both safer and keeps fingerprints off of it. Our model does include integrated navigation, but it looks behind the times, and as of now Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are not offered. Overall, they both have their pros and cons, so I'll call it a draw. Moving on from that, both models have auto-dimming mirrors with HomeLink universal remotes on or around it. They also both have standard-sized moonroofs. The front areas are very impressive overall, but the back areas are just as important on cars like these, so let's go ahead and check them out. The CR-V and CX-5 offer some of the most spacious rear seats in the class, but the Honda barely ekes out a win here. It has 40.4 inches of legroom and 39.2 inches of headroom, compared to 39.6 inches of legroom and 39 inches of headroom for the Mazda. The CR-V's doors also open at a wider angle, but the door trim itself switches to some cheaper materials. The CX-5s are just as nice as in the front. Once inside, there are lots of creature comforts. Both have nice rear air vents and also 2 USB ports, but the CX-5 gets a point for them being in a more convenient location. The rear seats are also heated on the CX-5, which is something the CR-V doesn't offer. Coming to the rear hatch, they are both power, something that's new to the CX-5. Once inside, the Mazda offers 30.9 cubic feet of space behind the second row, and 59.6 cubic feet with the second row folded. The CR-V's more boxy shape allows it to have significantly more space, at 39.2 cubic feet with the second row in place, and 75.8 cubic feet with it folded. We also get a tonneau cover included on the CR-V. Well, that finishes up this very close comparison video. Both these vehicles impress us very much, and these are more than likely two of the best offerings in the class. In choosing between these two, you really can't go wrong. Anyways, thanks for joining us on this car confections comparison, and hopefully this was helpful for you. Be sure to subscribe for more comparisons and our signature full review videos. Take care, everyone.